Hello, hello. How's it going? My name's Tom. I'm a piano teacher, in case you didn't know, and I'm going to be telling you today how to read music. Okay, bit of a big one here, and you might have to bear with me as well, cause I've got a cold. It's what working with kids does to you. As much as I love it, it does expose me to a right load of different nasty germs. Anyway, so before I start talking about how to read music, I want to invite you to think about how we first learnt to read, okay? And how we first learnt to read involves phonetics, right? Remember those things? Breaking things down or breaking words down into the component parts. Like if you see an A and an H together, it makes an R sound. Two O's next to each other makes an oo sound, okay? So we start looking at the connections between the letters of words, and that helps us make sounds with our mouths. Then we learn to identify individual words on their own without having to break them down into their component parts, right? When you see the word cat, you don't see the letter C, the letter A, the letter T together and think, ah, yes, I've seen this before, cat. You just see the word cat and say cat, don't you? Okay, it's the same with most words now that you can read properly, okay? Then you'll learn how to recognize sentences, then complex sentences, then paragraphs, okay? You're looking at the connections between words and letters and stringing them together. It's really amazing what the mind does, right? But you might not remember this, it probably took you quite a long time to learn how to read, right? It normally takes quite a lot of, I'll try that again. It normally takes a number of years to get really, truly competent at reading, right? It's the same with reading music, because reading music is like learning another language. But the good news is just like a language, we can break it down into its component parts, and with intelligent practice, we can learn to look at the relationships between the notes, right? So I'm going to shut up a little bit and I'm going to show you on this whiteboard what's going on. Okay, have a look at this. Does it mean much? Probably won't, okay? But what you've got here is you've got a system of notation that has been refined over hundreds and hundreds of years, okay? It makes a lot of sense. I know it might not look like it makes a lot of sense to begin with. But what we have, primarily we have the stave. Okay, this is like our blank canvas, okay? And the stave consists of 5 lines, 4 spaces. Without getting too hung up on what the initial notes are to begin with, or what letter names each of these notes are, these circles are notes, okay? They specify a specific key to press on the piano. We're just going to deal with white keys today, okay? If you go from a note that is in a space to a note that has a line going through it, and that space and that line are touching, like these two fellas are, that means that those notes are next door. The same with if it's vice versa, if you've got a note that's got a line going through it to a note that's in a space, then that's going to be a next door note, okay? It means you just play the closest white note, all right, to the white note before it. Down here, you've got space to a space. And as long as that space and that space are the closest spaces to each other, then it means skip one, okay? If you've got a line to a line, and those lines are the closest ones to each other, then that also means skip one, okay? So by looking at the relationship between the notes, instead of kind of at the notes as single entities on their own, then it takes less processing power than having to figure them out on their own. Eventually, over time and with practice, the gaps between these notes will get bigger and there'll be more lines and more spaces between them, but we will learn to recognize those as well as we gradually make it more difficult, as we gradually practice a bit more. Okay, so you might be thinking, oh well, what is a next door note, what is a skipper note? So I'll briefly take you to the keyboard. Let me just adjust this camera for us. Okay, that should do it. So at this keyboard, if I'm starting on a white note, if we've got a line to a space note, then that means next door, or maybe it's lower. Lower sounds on the piano, by the way, are to the left. Higher sounds are to the right. Lower to the left. A good way of remembering this is that left and lower begin with the same letter L for loser. Okay, so when you have space to space, a note that's in a space on our stave, remember those 5 lines and 4 spaces, it means skip one if it's going from low to high on the page, or skip one going lower if it's high to low. Likewise, if it's line to line, then that also means skip one. See, I've got a note there in between, skipping it out. Or if it's line to line going lower, skip this fella out, and I go there. Those were just examples. It could be any of the white notes on the piano, skip one, or next door. Okay, so I hope that shined a bit of light on how we read music, okay? I didn't want to get too hung up on what individual notes were at this stage, because there are ways we can figure that out, and that's a topic for another video. And if you want to know, and you have burning questions, you really want to know what the initial questions are, or what the initial notes are, sorry, then fire a message over to my page. I will gladly answer it. If you liked this video, then please give it a like. If you want more people to know how to read music, then please share this video. And thank you very much for watching. I'm sure you will hear from me very soon. Bye bye.